All right, Coach. SEC championships in the books for you guys, and really, you can't start any sort of Q&A about SECs without starting off talking about Akram, 1650 conference champion, first for your men's program in 15 years. What does that do? Not necessarily just for Akram, but for your entire program to have an SEC champion.
Well, it was kind of the next step. We keep talking about progression, and we keep talking about improvement and getting better every year, and that was kind of the next step. We had to start winning some events, and we did that. That was a great night for us. I mean, it really was. We had Akram stood on top of the podium and just missed an SEC record. That would have kind of been icing on the cake. But also Tom Parabonio got on the podium with him, first and third in that event in the fastest conference in the country. That's a statement. And so I'm really proud of those guys. But it is Akram has some really big goals, and this was one of them. This is kind of a step in the process for his bigger goals down the road this year and on into 2020. I think it was a good meet for him. It was a great meet as far as a setup for NCAA's, and another step along the way there. We're looking to do as well as we can at that meet, and ultimately, we'd love to be able to put up an NCAA championship or a podium finish up there at NCAA's, and we'll see what happens. We got a few weeks to train and kind of get back going with those guys, but I'm very proud of those guys. Akram did a great job. The distance guys were on fire this week, so we're in a good place.
Let's talk overall from a team perspective. First, on the men's side, you guys finished 7th, had a real tight battle for that 7th position on the last couple days, ended up beating out, I believe it was Kentucky and LSU for that 7th spot. Akram obviously won. Tom was on the podium with him. Niels Wood-Glosson ended up on a podium. Jordan Gautreaux, I know, made 3 finals. On the men's side, what's your takeaway from Missouri?
We were good because the guys had to overcome some adversity this year. We lost some points from last year. Cole Miller did an outstanding job on the boards last year, and to be honest, had we not had what Jordan did this year, we would have not finished where we did. I think he was the difference in a lot of it, and our distance guys played a huge role. I think we're in a pretty good place. We're going to have to fill some holes. We had a really good recruiting class coming in for next year, but I think being able to hold our place given the points that we lost from last year, I think that's a pretty big success, and now the goal is to build on that. And we're going to have just as tough a time when we go to NCAA's because we're still missing those same points. Last year, Cole Miller had 3 top 16 finishes and 3 All-American honors at NCAA's. That's hard to replace. But what I've learned about Jordan Gautreaux this year is that he's not going to back down from any challenge, and he tends to like to wait till the last round. Right. He can hammer that 6-round dive every time, and usually move ahead of people, and did that again in a few events at SEC. So I never doubt that young man. He's very, very talented. And, I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do at NCAA's. And, I think he proved to the rest of our men and to the coaching staff that, he's a guy that can be relied on to put up points at SECs. And we got to bring him in there and get a little bit of depth on the men's side on the boards because we've got Lyle and we've got Jordan. We need to get, 1-2 more guys in there. And so we're going to recruit as hard as we can, see if we can't make that happen and help those guys out. But on the men's side, I think it was a pretty successful meet. We broke a lot of records this week, and Akram broke 3, broke 2 of them in one event. I think we're in a pretty good place moving forward. We are back to hard training now, and looking forward to Atlanta in a few weeks.
On the women's side, again, a younger team, but a lot of positives as well. I know Taylor Worrell made an A final. He got broken records from Ashley Ferguson and Marissa Delgado, Paige Maynard in the same race as Marissa, and then diving again, a strength, somebody in finals in every single event.
The divers were on fire. Our female divers, we could not have asked anything more from them. They put massive points up on the board. I think they put 172 points up for our team just out of those 4 divers that scored. So that's an unbelievable statistic when you look at how hard our conference is. The fact that they put up that many points for our team is incredible. And then the nice thing about what we saw was these A final swims and the school records were pretty evenly distributed. When you look at Emma Barksdale and her final swims, the 400 IM that she had was outstanding. She's a freshman. Paige Maynard, Marissa Delgado. That was a great story. Paige Maynard actually broke the school record in prelims in the 200 fly, and then fellow freshman Marissa Delgado stepped up in finals and broke her Paige's school record that night. So it got broken twice in one day. A record that it stood for a long time. Christy Thompson held that record, who was one of my swimmers during my first year here. She was a senior. So it's been around for almost a decade. They broke it twice in one day, both freshmen. And then you look at Ashley Ferguson, who's a senior, swimming her last meet ever as a Gamecock at SEC's, and she broke that 200 backstroke record, which was a great swim for her. She had an outstanding meet. Taylor Worrell, who broke a very long-standing 500 freestyle record, and that was a surprise. I knew Taylor was going to be good, but she did better than we ever could have expected. So I was very proud of her, very proud of our women. They fought hard, they raced hard, and we had a lot of great performances this weekend that we can use as kind of a platform to head forward into NCAA's.
I'm going to put you on the spot here. When you look back on the 5 days, what one individual performance really sticks out to you as something that you really, on a positive note, did not expect going into the event, and then whether it was a dive or a swim, you really were pleasantly surprised by what you got there?
I think the one that sticks out on the female side for me is Taylor Worrell's 500 freestyle. I think at that point, even going through watching that race unfold as she kept splitting even faster than what we had told her she needed to be at. And she, at first we thought, wow, this might be a tough race. I don't know if she's going to be able to hang on. She went out too quickly. She's going to be really tired in the last 150, 200 yards. And she just kept on and kept on and kept on. And when she hit the wall in 4:43, I thought maybe 4:45 was going to be a great swim for her, and it would have been. But she just absolutely crushed that, and I was really, really proud of her. She deserved a breakout meet, and she got it. And then I think on the men's side, it's going to sound pretty kind of cliche, but there's probably two of them, and I think they both came in the mile. One was Tom Parabonio swimming in the afternoon heats. He wasn't even in the championship final at night and actually placing third in the entire event. That was a great swim. But then the one that was, I think, most unexpected, it was about halfway through the men's mile at night where Akram Mahmoud was racing, and he really was just racing himself. He had pulled away from the rest of the field, which is pretty amazing in itself when you look at that field. There was every one of those guys will make NCAAs. And they announced that he was on pace for the SEC record. And both myself, I looked at distance coach Mark Bernardino, and we just kind of had this look on our face like, well, that thought never really crossed our mind. And he just stayed right on it. Just barely missed it by 2/100ths of a second, that's a hard pill to swallow after you race for 14 and a half minutes, as hard as you can go, to miss something by 0.02.
Sure.
But that was a great swim. I don't know if I would call it as much a surprise as we weren't expecting to be that close to the record right now. So he's right on track to where he wants to be. He wanted to be under sub 14:30 for NCAAs, and if he does that, he's going to be in the mix to go win that race. So that's the goal all along. We've got an SEC champion under our belt, and now we want to go after the NCAA title.
I'm sure we'll have you in here again before we get to NCAAs, but what do the next couple of weeks look like for you guys? I know the divers obviously go to zones, but I believe there's a championship qualifying meet in Athens, and then obviously training for the kids who do make it to NCAAs and who you expect to go.
There's a lot of different stuff going on. Being an Olympic year, there's a lot of people in a lot of different places. So right now, currently, we have an NCAA group that has to get really back to some hard training. In order to re-taper down for NCAAs. We have a long course time trial group who's actually going to be trying to make Olympic trial cuts here in about 4 weeks that we're training. Then we have a spring training group that will train for meets farther into the summer. So we've got really 3 definite different plans going on right now. Divers will head to zones. They'll try to qualify their spot at NCAAs. And speaking of our divers, we haven't mentioned it yet, but Julia Vincent last night made an Olympic qualifying score. So she is going to be allowed allowed to represent South Africa in the Olympics. We haven't had a chance to announce that yet. So I'm really excited for her. But our divers are on the same path. They've got a busy couple of weeks. The coaches are scrambling, trying to get people to a last chance meet in Athens, Georgia this coming weekend. We're probably going to have 4 to 5 athletes down for that, trying to get their final NCAA cuts. So there's a lot going on, but that's what keeps this fun. You know, we keep hammering every day, but yeah, there's not a whole lot of time for celebration and sitting back and patting yourself on the back, because the next goal is quickly, you know, coming upon us. So we've got to keep going with that. But yeah, there's a lot going on. It's fun. This is what keeps it exciting, and the kids are coming off of a good meet, so we're looking forward to getting on into Atlanta, getting our divers off to zones, and seeing exactly what we can do on the national level now.
Coach, I know it was a great meet for you guys, and the best is hopefully still yet to come. Best of luck in the future.
Thank you guys very much.